Catherine Fisk, a professor at Berkeley Law, assaults a Muslim hijabi law student, while her husband, Erwin Chemerinsky, dean of Berkeley Law, screams, "Leave our house." In the end, violent white supremacists with fancy degrees. These elite institutions are faced with symbols over mouth. Ooh. Is this a real assault, or is this a logistical definition of assault?
Fast, not only from the
legal sustenance.
This is not your
Fast,
house.
not only
it is
from
my
the
house.
Fast, we have attorneys. We have attorneys.
Okay, you don't have to get
Excuse
aggressive.
me.
I'm not
Please leave our house. You are guests at our house.
This is our First Amendment right.
No,
This is our First
this is
Amendment.
my
It
house.
is.
The First
The
Amendment
National
doesn't
Lawyers
apply.
Guild has informed us this is our
Fast, not only from the
That is assault. She tried to grab her phone. She shouldn't have done that. Not good. But this is also mega cringe. Why are they in front of this woman's house? Read the dean's full statement. Biggest problem with this video, ooh, we got a big Jew flag here, I think, right? Oh no, wait, it just looked like the colors. It's a Pop-Tart thing. The biggest problem with this video is you have law students about to graduate Berkeley Law who think they have a First Amendment right to protest in someone else's private backyard. There's no shot that's where they are, right? That they're in this woman's backyard? No way, right? I write this with profound sadness. Since I became a dean, my wife and I have invited the first-year students to our home for dinner. We were asked this year by the president of the third-year class to have the graduating students over for dinner because they began in fall 2021 when COVID prevented us from having dinners for them. We were delighted to oblige and designated 3 nights, April 9th, 10th, 11th, that graduating students could choose among. I never imagined that something we do to help our community would become ugly and divisive. Last week, there was an awful poster on social media and bulletin boards in the law school building of a caricature of me holding a bloody knife and fork with the words in large letters, "No dinner with Zionist Chemerinsky, while Gaza starves." I never thought I would see such blatant anti-Semitism with an image that invokes the horrible anti-Semitic trope of blood libel and that attacks me for no reason other than I am Jewish. Although many complained to me about the poster and how it deeply offended them, I felt that, although deeply offensive, they were speech protected by the First Amendment, but I was upset that those in our community had to see this disturbing anti-Semitic poster around the law school. The students responsible for this had the leaders of our student government tell me that if we did not cancel the dinners, they would protest at them. I was sad to hear this, but made clear that we would not be intimidated and that the dinners would go forward for those who wanted to attend. I said that I assumed that any protest would not be disruptive. On April 9th, about 60 students came to our home for the dinner. All had registered in advance, all came into our backyard and were seated at tables for dinner. While guests were eating, a woman stood up with a microphone, stood on the top step of the yard, and began a speech including about the plight of the Palestinians. My wife and I immediately approached her and asked her to stop and leave. The woman continued. When she continued, there was an attempt to take away her microphone. Repeatedly, we said to her that you are a guest in our home, please stop and leave. About 10 students were clearly with her and ultimately left as a group. The dinner, which was meant to celebrate graduating students, was obviously disrupted and disturbed. I'm enormously sad that we have students who are so rude as to come to my home in my backyard and use this social occasion for their political agenda. The dinners will go forward on Wednesday and Thursday. I hope that there will be no disruptions. My home is not a forum for free speech, but we will have security present. Any student who disrupts will be reported to student conduct, and a violation of the student conduct code is reported to the bar. I've spent my career staunchly defending freedom of speech. I've spent my years as dean trying hard to create a warm, inclusive community. I am deeply saddened by these events and take solace that it is just a small number of our students who would behave in such a clearly inappropriate manner. Erwin, are these people then, these are law students that are going to the law school? Sharia law students? Jesus Christ. I hope the professor reported, if they're truly law students, I hope that I hope the professor reported these people. I feel like if you fuck around like this, I feel like for sure you're gonna like fuck up like character and fitness, right? Like if you were to do shit like this and get reported for it, no shot. Read the third comment. If you're supporting the right cause, you have the legal right to do anything at all in the name of that cause, whether trespassing or worse. This is according to international law. However, it is an oral international law, so you can't look it up and you just have to trust them. Oh, he's just making fun of them, right? Nah, don't report them. Don't fuck up their education. No, they should be reported, and it should fuck their education up. Absolutely. I would be a little bit more understanding if they were undergrads, but these are master's level students going to Harvard Law, Yale Law, Berkeley Law. They're going to, is Berkeley a top, like, you're in law school, you're about to graduate. When you are assessed for being a barred licensed attorney, right, you do a character and fitness examination, and character and fitness is a big component in passing that and becoming a licensed attorney. And if you're doing shit like this, you know what the consequences are. You know and if you don't have the wherewithal to conduct yourself properly here, you shouldn't be a licensed attorney. You just shouldn't. You shouldn't practice law. Go do something else. This is wildly inappropriate behavior. What's the line for college students to do stupid political things? We're not talking about college students right now. We're talking about law students that are supposedly in their last year. So we've got 3 Ls that don't understand the First Amendment that are trying to protest on private property. That's wild. I don't think all protests at people's homes should be condemned. I agree, they shouldn't all be condemned. Some of them should be shot at. What do you mean? In people's homes, on people's private property, in the United States of America? No, you don't have any right to somebody's private property in the United States of America. You're fucking wild. That's unhinged. But the ethical bar should be very high. You stop reading. That doesn't matter. There is no ethical bar. You cannot protest on somebody's private property. That's wild. Yes, everybody keeps spamming. Ludwig is sponsored by HyperX, which is owned by HP, but there's a different HP. I don't care. I don't really care. I don't care about it. I don't care about this. This is drama I don't care about. Please stop posting about it. I don't care. Apparently, there are 2 different HPs. If you want to go read about it, you can. I don't give a fuck about Ludwig or his sponsors or any of that bullshit. I super don't give a fuck. Please stop. This is such a bad take and bad precedent. What do you mean a bad take and bad precedent? If they wanted to protest outside the house, you can do that, I think, without microphones. But no, you don't have a right to be inside somebody else's house making political statements and no. The only thing that could make this remotely questionable, still not right, would be if the home was owned by the school and not a home that he bought. That's true. That would change things significantly. But the statement, he said it was their private home, didn't he? Since I became a dean, my wife and I have invited the first year students to our home for dinner. Right? Well, unless you can, no, hold on. Just because it's paid for by the school, because it might be like, for instance, should I have the right to go into Biden into the White House, like where the family lives, and like jerk off and do whatever there because it's like, well, my tax dollars pay for it? If there's like an agreement that like these are that the university provides housing for certain people, you would still consider that private property. You don't have a right to conduct yourself there in however way you want. Apparently, this is the poster that was being posted up in the school. Jesus. Destiny, this is stupid. Why would a university own the house of a faculty member? What are the chances of that? What? I don't know. My guess would be they're probably higher than you think. Don't you have faculty moving from like all over the country to be guest professors or to be professors? It wouldn't surprise me at all if colleges owned some housing that faculty. I can't tell if that was a meme because your question was so like pointedly stupid. I can't tell if that was a meme or not. I feel like probably a decent chance that they own some housing for people. Jesus. Okay. Live updates. Wait, we have one of these accounts, don't we? Hold on. Is there a reasonable expectation of privacy for residential spaces, even if it's public property? Yeah, of course. It might be publicly funded, but it's still going to be, you don't have a public access to it. All things that are publicly funded, you're not guaranteed to have private access to it, right? Certainly we understand that. I can't walk into the Pentagon and say, I pay your taxes, like, let's open the coffers, show me everything. You can't do that, right? Seems like with the river stabbing shit that people have very undefined lines on what self-defense means, and now even how to protest without violating another agency. Some people are okay with fingers and faces, throwing water or protesting people with family at dinners. I always thought it would be cool to get everyone on the same page or doing a deep dive, since some people can't tell the difference in the Rittenhouse case to a guy running up on people, then claiming self-defense. There's a thing that this story wasn't in my Father Brown book, I don't think. I just want to read this part one real quick. I think that's important. In Chesterton's The Secret of Father Brown, a beloved nobleman who murdered his good-for-nothing brother in a duel 30 years ago returns to his hometown racked by guilt. All the townspeople want to forgive him immediately, and they mock the titular? I don't know how to pronounce this fucking word. Titular. They mock the titular priest for only being willing to give a measured forgiveness conditional on penance and self-reflection. They lecture the priest on the virtue, charity, and compassion. Later, it comes out that the beloved nobleman did not, in fact, kill his good-for-nothing brother. The good-for-nothing brother killed the beloved nobleman and stole his identity. Now, the townspeople want to see him lynched or burned alive, and it is only the priest who, consistently, offers a measured forgiveness conditional on penance and self-reflection. The priest tells them, "It seems to me that you only pardon the sins that you don't really think sinful. You only forgive criminals when they commit what you don't regard as crimes, but rather as conventions. You forgive a conventional duel just as you forgive a conventional divorce. You forgive because there isn't anything to be forgiven." I think that when you think about like certain values or principles you have, oftentimes people imagine themselves having a certain value or principle, but they only ever think of it in application to people that they already agree with. So like a really common example of this would be like, oh, how do you feel about freedom of speech? And you're like, freedom of speech is the most important thing in the world. Oh, really? Do you think gay people should be allowed to stand on street corners and say, I think all kids should transition? Hold up. That's destroying the country. It's destroying families. It's rotting children's brains. It's causing, like, okay, so when you say you believe in freedom of speech, you mean freedom for the people you already agree with. You don't need freedom of speech for them. You just, nobody would attack their speech, right? Freedom of speech is for stuff that you don't want, you know? When people talk about like assault or self-defense or protesting on certain property or whatever, they think about it, but I think they only envision it in ways where they already agree with the cause. And I think that's damaging because whatever you grant for yourself, you have to grant for the opposition. And when I went and gave that speech in Iowa, when I did the thing on the debate stage with the president of that political university, we spoke a little bit afterwards about it's like MLK shit and like debate and all this stuff. And one of the things that he told me that I thought was really interesting was he said that it's kind of taking what I'm saying, it's phrasing it a slightly different way, but he's saying whatever tool that you give to somebody to protest, that you say like, oh, like you should be allowed to do this particular thing to protest. Imagine the worst way that somebody can use that tool. So the example being that like, well, let's say we say sit-ins are an acceptable form of protest. What's the worst way that somebody can use a sit-in? I was like, well, I guess like sitting in and disrupting public business and like yeah, like it'd be pretty annoying, but like that would be the worst thing that could happen, even if we didn't disagree with the cause. But then it's like, okay, well, what if we say things like killing politicians? Well, what's the worst way somebody gives that? Okay, well, you could literally assassinate all of Congress and the president. Fuck, that's a way more extreme. What about like measured destruction of property? It's like, okay, well, we could be blowing up public property. Does that mean schools? Does that mean like water treatment facilities? Does that mean energy plants? Like, what does that mean, right? So when you think about whatever I'm not saying what the rule should be in terms of self-defense or in terms of protest or whatever, although I'm probably largely going to agree with the laws in the books, but whatever the rule is, you should imagine it being applied to everybody, especially people you disagree with. Yeah. Jesus. Why do you say to people, be careful rather than take care? Are they in danger or something? You're always in danger, my friend. Yet Destiny is okay with people protesting in front of the Supreme Court Justice's house after Roe v. Wade was overturned. Double standards. Protesting in front of somebody's house is not the same thing as protesting in their backyard or on their property, right? Streets are considered public property. So no, that's not the same thing. Also, I'm not even sure if I said I was okay with that. Didn't I have a discussion with Pisco on that? I don't even know if I'm 100% okay with that. I don't know if I even came to a conclusion on that. It seems a little sus or not good that you're protesting like a judge's decision outside their house. I don't know if that's a good thing or not at all. I don't know if I ever took a strong stance on that in the past. But what's your position on the P versus NP problem? What position can you have? I think you said it wasn't a good precedent because of the chilling effect. Yeah, that'd be my guess. Yeah. Like, do you really want a judge thinking like, well, if I make this decision, I'm going to be protested like crazy in my personal residence for years? Like, that doesn't seem like a good precedent, no?